Hey, everybody. You're about to hear a brief retelling of the movie Shanghai Fortress. Enjoy watching. A Chinese spacecraft returns to Earth in the near future with Shintung, a recently discovered energy source. It replaces conventional energy sources in a matter of years, and cities see unheard of levels of rapid urban expansion. Regretfully, consuming so much energy draws the notice of an extraterrestrial civilization who eventually sends spacecraft to attack every major city on Earth in retaliation for taking the Shintung. With no Shintung to rely on, the onslaught completely surprises everyone and leaves all of the cities in ruins. In the end, a crisis summit in Shanghai is called by the leaders of 97 nations to devise a special defensive mechanism aimed at preserving the world's final metropolis. Jiang, Zhangyu, Yi, Pan, and Yi established the Grey Eagle team, which uses a simulation in which aliens dispatch their flying robots for another attack. The team uses the newest military drone models to take on the robots in combat. Because they were taught by Commander Lin Lan herself and have complementary skills, they operate extremely well together. Commander Yun expresses his happiness with the outcome and remarks that Jiang is a very skilled pilot. Lin Lan reaffirms this, stating that Jiang is the best by far. Jiang was, it turns out, a member of the logistic team that constructed the Shanghai cannon, which has allowed Shanghai to remain the final citadel standing. However, he joined the fighting team to assist as things grew worse. Jiang, who has a major crush on Lin Lan, leaves the office after spending yet another day in training and dashes to the elevator to catch Lin Lan's ride. Jiang wants to give Lin Lan a flower for her birthday today, but he's nervous and bashful. When he finally finds the bravery, Lin Lan has already exited the elevator. Jiang tells her about today's training later at home, and he's happy to find that she gave him a good response. Later on, Yun tells Lin Lan that New Delhi has also been attacked by aliens, and he wants her to use the data obtained there to strengthen their defenses. Unexpectedly, the castle declares a state of emergency. An extraterrestrial mothership has materialized over Shanghai. People start to fear all around the city, but before the soldiers join their teams at the stronghold, they quickly direct them to the appropriate shelters. The city has several defenses, one of which is a unique force field that blocks the mothership's initial laser beam strike. But the force field is only strong for so long, and before the engineers can repair it, the aliens send an army of robots through the hole that the beam created. Without delay, the pilots deploy their drones to combat them, taking great care not to harm any civilians who are still evacuating. A robot is making its way towards the stronghold when it lands in the middle of the road, nearly hitting a girl. Fortunately, Jiang moves her aside in time to prevent the accident. The artillery squad opens fire in an attempt to halt the robot, but to no avail, as it then starts firing at anything in its path. Jiang attempts in vain to assist as well, but just then a tank driven by Lin Lan shows up and quickly destroys it. The mothership departs the region for the time being as the drones finish eliminating the remaining robots in time for the engineers to complete mending the force field. Subsequently, the committee is informed by the scientific division that they scanned the mothership during the battle and found a vulnerability. Yun forbids the committee from using the Shanghai cannon to hit it, citing the possibility of a counterattack endangering lives. Later, Yun takes Lin Lan to a secure location to explain that Shanghai, together with the castle and force field, is the sole place where the final deposit of Shintung, which is very unstable, is found. They would waste all of the remaining Shintung and render the city helpless if they shot the cannon. Maintaining their Eagle team's training so they can eventually replace the force field is the greatest method to keep the aliens at bay. While all of this is going on, Jiang and his pals are relaxing on a rooftop, enjoying a drink and daydreaming about what they would do with their life if they weren't engaged in combat. Pan in particular is eager to complete his bike and take it for a spin. They quickly return to the stronghold, prepared to battle, when an emergency call alerts them of the city's renewed onslaught. The force field raises as normal to block the approaching beams, but Pan sees something strange. Even after several gaps in the barrier have been created, the enemy robots continue to remain passive. This helps him realize that this is all a trap. The aliens are forcing them to keep fixing the field in order to run out of Shintung and render the city helpless. The robots eventually enter the stronghold when a beam passes through the barrier again and does significant damage inside. The soldiers are forced to engage in close combat, but they are not adequately equipped with ammunition, and many of them lose their lives in the process. As backup, the Eagles enter the fight, although they are unable to accomplish anything and would much rather go inside and take control of the drones. The committee defies Yun's orders and sends a man to trigger the cannon while the Eagles utilize the drones to start repairing the force field. Although they don't utilize all of their might to prevent losing all of their Shintung, the mothership is sufficiently struck. Additionally, the Eagles successfully complete the field's repairs, forcing the mothership to evacuate. A robot nearby indicates it's not as wrecked as they initially believed. The Eagles spend the rest of the evening engaging in their own interests, and Jiang eventually has the audacity to ask Lin Lan to go on a bike ride. But as Jiang wakes up, he finds out that this was all a dream and that the Eagles have been promoted as a result of their outstanding performance the previous night. As the squad heads to a bar to celebrate their promotion, Yi says they should rejoice, but Jiang can't stop thinking about Lin Lan. Yi sees his melancholy as he broods on the roof and tells him to tell Lin Lan how he feels, because you never know when the aliens could allow you to confess to them. A while later, the crew watches on TV as the guy who fired the cannon receives a promotion that is even greater, and he mentions a loved one in his address. Jiang becomes quite depressed, believing this to be Lin Lan. When Jiang goes to a noodle restaurant later that night for supper, he is shocked to see Lin Lan there. They mourn the lives lost in combat and talk about the burden of having to defend the planet. Jiang is eventually bold enough to offer Lin Lan the present as a means to cheer her up after noticing how tense she is. Jiang is happy to find that she accepts his invitation to meet the next day when he sends her a message after she leaves. To impress his date, Pan and Zhang Yu dress Jiang in a leather jacket the following day. Yi, however, forces him to wear his uniform as she feels it is inappropriate. When Jiang sees Lin Lan a little while later, he is saddened to learn that she was merely hoping to see him in order to check on the generators. Lin Lan tells Jiang about her training days and how her father was a frigid soldier who lost his life in combat as Jiang is taking care of the upkeep. The memories brings Lin Lan to tears, and she tells Jiang that she hopes they can create a future where children may gaze up and see stars instead of the beams that maintain the force field. Subsequently, individuals become alarmed upon observing that the ground is beginning to crack, giving the impression that an unseen seismic event has occurred. Yiyun informs the committee that there is a chance the force field could collapse soon since the energy deposits are unstable and the usage of the cannon has made them worse. They receive a warning that there are odd fractures on the force field, and Yiyun quickly returns to the command center to help the Eagles fix them. The field returns to normal because of expert collaboration, but at this rate, it won't last long. Just then, a robot scales the roof to infiltrate the command center and starts murdering people. Bullets cannot harm it, despite the soldiers' best efforts to stop it with their weapons. When Pan tries to strike it with a fire extinguisher, it too fails, and the robot strikes Pan without hesitation before pulling him to the force field panel, where he is rendered inoperable. Pan triggers the self-destruct sequence with his final breath, forcing Jiang and Zhang Yu to pull a sobbing Yi outside before the chamber blows up. As soon as the robot is destroyed, the force field instantly rises again. Yi gives Pan his tags as the squad takes a time in the evening to honor Pan and the other victims with the respect they deserve. Jiang gives Yi Pan the bike key when they go back to their dorm since he's always wanted her to have it. A while later, the group considers abandoning Shanghai, but Yiyun says he has prepared a strategy for their final attempt. In order to make the cannon powerful enough to truly destroy the mothership, the plan is to turn off the force field and focus all of that energy on it. The Eagles will need to play defense rather than offense, and they accept the task despite the high risk involved. Additionally, Yiyun requests that Lin Lan remain in the shinting chamber and keep watch. Soldiers will be able to battle more freely and have tanks on every corner if all civilians are transported to shelters until the streets are entirely deserted. Each soldier places a piece of equipment inside a box that will last for 100 years before entering combat, just in case the city itself is destroyed as well. Yi leaves Pan's keys, while Zhang Yu leaves a note for his parents. Before deciding on his phone, Jiang sends Lin Lang a message in which he admits his feelings. Regretfully, it cannot be sent due to the present power outages. Instead of commanding the drones, the Eagles will have to operate real aircraft this time. The alien robots descend and engage in a violent aerial battle as soon as the force barrier is broken. A few robots fly past the Eagles to assault the command center, but sadly, their coordination in the air with an army of drones is insufficient. Yiyun gives his squad some final words of encouragement before the place blows apart. The Eagles and the tanks race to try to halt the robots as they start to make their way to the Shinting complex. After Lin Lan checks on the cannon and finds it fully charged, they simply need to wait for the mothership to get into position as another fight breaks out, with both sides losing men every second. After successfully breaching the ground defense, one of the robots launches itself at Yi's aircraft. After asking her to perform a backflip, Jiang moves in closer to strike the robot with his own aircraft, killing it and setting his own wing on fire in the process. Jiang is forced to flee in the emergency pod, which arrives in the midst of the conflict. With his pistols out, he charges into the fray, firing as near to the robots as he can, until he appears and uses her plane to take out the robot that is about to kill him. Then, resolved to get revenge on Pan, she walks into the fray as well. In the meantime, Zhang Yu attempts to shift the mothership in the direction of the gun by flying toward it. But with too many robots all around him, he needs assistance. Yi quickly returns to the command center and, in her haste, sets off a special grenade that kills a significant number of robots while killing herself in the process, all while thinking about Pan. The mothership eventually moves as Jiang uses Yi's plane to reunite with Zhang Yu in the skies. The moment the cannon is fired, a massive explosion occurs that also destroys the nearby structures. Everyone is astonished to learn that the attack has failed since the robots took the shot to defend the mothership when the air clears. Lin Lan realizes, with nearly no hope left, why Yiyun left her there. The force field's energy was used to shoot the cannon, but they still have some shinting energy left behind, so they may try again. The Earth will sink as a result, rendering the city helpless. The cannon accepts the dangers and starts to recharge as Jiang and Zhang Yu keep watch on it. Lin Lan presses the switch to initiate the last option just as a robot breaks into the Shinton complex and starts murdering everyone in its path. Before dying, Lin Lan gives a moving speech that causes Jiang to cry, and all the buildings and the land start to sink, taking the robot with them. Even worse, the soldiers find that during the sinking, damage was done to the cannon's navigation system. Zhang Yu flies ahead to clear the path as Jiang orders them to unlock the infrared guidance device and lock it in place so he can guide the cannon. After taking the bait, the robots pursue him, but Zhang Yu destroys himself to take them down with him. With little defense left, Jiang flies straight into the mothership to act as a guide, and the cannon fires its final charge, destroying the ship once and for all. Days go by, and Shanghai is gradually rebuilt using conventional technology rather than Shinton. Subsequently, it is disclosed that Jian has managed to escape by ejecting the pod just prior to the cannon explosion, and he has been bestowed with the highest rank. He still longs to return to the locations where he and his teammates used to hang out, though, since he misses them so much. When he goes to the noodle restaurant one evening, a co-worker hands him the package containing his phone. When Jiang looks into it, he finds that Lin Lan simply answered with received after his confession was submitted. Jiang tells her to sleep well in his parting message, tears welling up in his eyes. Then a flashback shows that Jiang received Lin Lan's help filling out the paperwork when he decided to enlist in the army. That day, he fell in love with her, which is why he decided to go to the stronghold.